chemistry. So yeah, I'm Zhaowen. So I just completed my PhD defense 2 years ago. So it's my pleasure to share my PhD work with you today. So I will present on machine learning for mineral magnetism from mineral recognition to magnetic inversion. So first of all, I want to thank all my collaborators for their support. And oops. Okay, so I have organized my talk into 4 parts. So let's begin with the research motivation. So let's begin with a question. So why does rock magnetism need machine learning? So as we all know, rock magnetism studies how magnetic minerals with very complex microscopic parameters such as type, shape, grain size to control the magnetic domain states, whether SPSD or others, and to ultimately control their magnetic properties. But here is a very huge challenge, because if we look at the microscopic images, so the magnetic mineral have very complex structures and types and size. So it's really need a method to which can identify and extract the useful information, which can be very accurate. So as Rich mentioned, so we need combining machine learning or high resolution microscopy to identify the parameters. Yeah. So another point is, I think Rob mentioned yesterday. So because most of our magnetic measurements is bulk samples. So although it's very simple and quick, but it has some, it comes with many issues, because magnetic mineral grains in bulk samples are small in size, low in abundance, and diverse in type. So this will lead to the overlapping magnetic signals and ambiguous interpretation of magnetic data. So the bulk magnetic measurements face the problems of multi-solution and non-uniqueness. So that's why we need machine learning to help us to build sophisticated interpretation tools. So here is our approach. So the first part is we need some method to which can do intelligent and microscopic identification. So as like Rich and Alison did, so we need to extract these parameters, and then we can feed these parameters into micromagnetic modeling. We can calculate the microscopic magnetism, and we also try to work in reverse. So we try to train a machine learning model which can, based on the microscopic magnetic measurements, to predict their microscopic parameters such as shape and size. So this is a two-bridge connection between the micro to micro magnetism. So let's see in action. So the first case is magnetic mineral image recognition. So image recognition is a cornerstone of machine learning. So here we take a magnetophoto as an example. So Rich have shown how to use machine learning to do SEM analysis. So this one is for TM images. So okay, we also use the U-Net model. So thanks to previous talks, so I think you maybe have a general grasp for this model. So basically, it's originally development for the medical image detection. So like to detect the cell boundaries. And because I think the magnetic mineral and the cells, they share some similar features. So we try to adapt it, use this U-Net model to predict the mineral edge, because if we have the edge, we can know its crystal form, and we can segment the particles, and we can know its size. So the edge is very important. And the U-Net model is very powerful because it can achieve very high accuracy only using a 30 image training set. So it's really powerful. So, and the second model is 1998 model. So the year I was born. So yeah. So but it's still useful because this model is developed by Le Kun. So he just used this model to classify the the handwritten digits. So here we use it for the biomagnetic shape classification. So we have 4 different classes like cubohedron, prism, and bullet-shaped particles. So these are our 2 models. And first, we need to build a training set. So we have TM images. So I just draw the edges using Adobe Photoshop. If you are experienced labeler, maybe you need 1 day to finish 100 images. So, and then for linear training set, we just if we have a very good edge image, we can extract each particle and divide it into different classes by ourselves. Okay, so this is after training, we can say all models converge to a very high accuracy, and both model works are converged. So when that means our training is successful, and okay, so based on the pre-trained model, so we proposed a recognition framework. We call it a magnet. So first we have TM images, and then we use UNet to detect the particle edges, and then we can use some edge detection algorithms to draw the minimum area of each contour, and then we can fit the outliers, and then we extract all mini area rectangles and use linear model to predict its shape or if it's a right particle. And then we can report this picture. We have the its shape, its length, its width, and also its position. So we can compare this magnet results with some conventional edge detection methods such as thresholding or canny edge detection. So the machine learning based edge detection is more stable and can avoid many noise. And the right panel shows some examples of the results of magnetic recognition case. We can say, okay, we can extract most of particles, but there are still some particles can't be recognized because we use a very strict fitting, so we don't want the errors. So and also because the TM images have very strong overlapping or contact each other. So for these particles, we just remove it. But if you have a very large data set, so I think these particles is enough for your statistic analysis. Yeah. And then we use a brand new testing image set. So first of all, we just count it manually using ImageJ, and then we use magnet to identify it. And we can see over 65% particles were identified. And if we see the manually and magnet predictor results, they are belonging to the same distributions with p-value exceeding to 0.05. So this shows it's if we have a very large image data set, so the magnet can help you to give you a size and aspect ratio distributions of your particles. And also magnet can help us to build the micromagnetic simulation models, because if we have 2D TM images, magnet can just identify the position and also the rotation angle and the shape and the size and the elongation. So we can feed all these parameters into a geometry model for mirror calculation, and then we can do some simulations. So this here I give you an example. So we select some very typical MTB images, and we try to build in situ image in situ model to calculate its magnetic properties. And we select three different images. They have cubohedron, prism, and bullet models, and we can build the in situ models, and we can calculate the domain states and all other rock magnetic properties. And then here is another example. I think Sarah mentioned it yesterday. So it's for Greigite synthesized MTB. And we also build the image in situ models, and we can calculate the hysteresis properties. And we found that the hysteresis properties is different from those of other origins of Greigite. So, and here is the future work, and previous some biological research have showed that crystal features could be used to indicate different MTB taxonomy. So if we know their crystal morphology, maybe we can predict their species. So that's what we want to do is, okay, we can extract each particle, and then we can predict which species can produce this particle. And then maybe this will be very useful for magnetofossil research. Maybe we can see, okay, so from single crystal to some species changes during some climate events or some different environments. So that's my future plan. So moving on to the next part is Fock inversion. So I think all of you know very well for Fock. So what we want to do is we want to, based on the Fock data, to predict its aspect ratio and the size. So we know the Fock distribution is very complex. So we want to use machine learning to predict it to solve the multi-solution or non-Euclidean problem. So first, let's look at the original Fock loop. So its measurement matrix is basically a two-dimensional matrix. So if we compare it to some image pixel matrix, so they are very similar. So we can just use some image recognition methods to do Fock inversion. So we just adapted some very traditional models to do the Fock inversion. So first of all, we have a very comprehensive Fock data. This is sense Fock, and it has some single particle magnetite Focks. And the length size, the size range from 45 to 4,100 nanometers. And then we can sample from this single particle magnetite to create a non-interacting magnetic assemblage. So we can use different size and aspect ratio distributions to sample different Focks. And this is our training data set. And we also add some noise to our data because we want to avoid some overfitting problem. And then let's look at the model input and output. First is input. So because the Fock diagram is second order derivatives. So we try to use the original magnetization and the first derivative and also second derivative as the input of our model. And the output of our model is the size and aspect ratio distribution. So the output size is a one-dimensional, only 68 parameters. Why we only select this narrow range? Because we only have this data in this range. So we just want this prediction is a classification problem. We try to just use a regressional problem, but it's very difficult to train. So we just use a multi-classification problem, and the model will tell you, okay, if it's 4,100 or not. So just give you a probability of each size and each aspect ratio parameters. And then this we use two models. The first one is very similar to the Leonard file I mentioned before. Another one is resonant. It has more deep structures, but it's all neural networks that have different numbers of layers. And then we have this inversion framework. We call it forking. So first one, we just use original fork loop to input the model, and then we build some inversion model based on CN or resonant model, and then we predict the size distribution and the aspect ratio distribution of the particle assemblage. So this is a model training, and after 100 epochs, we can see both CN and resonant models converged, but resonant models seem to have some overfitting problems, but basically it converged to a high accuracy level. And then I can show you some testing examples. So first one is some simulation data. So this simulation data is not used for training. So it's brand new to the trained model. So we can see for CNN model, the ground truth and the predict mean values are very similar with R square exceeding 0.98. And for resonant models, it looks like it has some overfitting problems, but it still has the high I squares. And if we look at some specific cases, we can see the orange line and the blue line is the ground truth predictions and the ground truth. We can see it can predict the distributions very accurately. So this testing means the forking can accurately invert the size and aspect ratios of at least for non-interacting magnetite particles from the raw fork data. And then we use some experimental data. We have two bicycle samples from Adrian's group, and the 3D dimensions was constructed using Fib nanotomography. And then we use forking to predict the size distributions, and we can see basically the mean and median values are similar. And if we use some KS test to test if the predictions and the ground truth is the same distribution, okay, it is because the p-value is exceeding 0.05. But we can see some small problem. So for size, there's for some small size particle maybe because their fork distributions is very similar, not so many chains in this size range. So the model can't predict very accurately. And also for the aspect ratio, for this two data set, and it can't predict the oblate particle. It's because our simulation synthetic model, it only have two axes, the width and the height is same. So, but in reality, the particle is triaxial particle, so we not consider this situation. But basically, if we look at the mean values, so it's very similar. So this indicates if we consider more factors for in our simulation data set, we can predict very well. So for forking, we have some future plans. So first of all, we need to wider size range. I think Alice and Owen is doing to calculate more particles, but although Edinburgh has a super cluster, but it needs maybe more time. So, and also we need to consider the interactions. For example, for chains like magnetofossils, we can train the model for maybe for some magnetism chains and for thermal activation or other magnetic mineral types. And also we can consider just use loop and RM curves to do inversion. Maybe it's more quick, yeah. And the long-term goal is first of all, we need a very good data set. We need to compute a comprehensive data set of magnetic properties for major natural magnetic minerals. And then we can train a very robust corresponding machine learning expert analysis models. So that's our long-term goal. So in summary, so we propose the intelligent artificial framework magnet to extract the particle information from TEM images. And we also build a Fock inversion framework to based on Fock diagram to predict their shape and size information. So this two framework proves that neural networks can be effectively used for mineral recognition and Fock inversion. And machine learning coupled with micromagnetic simulation can advance quantitative local magnetism. So basically, the model I use are some baby models. So maybe if you are interested in to improve it, so I'm very welcome to, you can improve the model or use a model to provide some feedbacks, because I think I'm not a very good programmer because my code is not so user friendly. If you want to use it and provide some feedbacks, I would be very grateful. So yeah. Last, I want to thank all my collaborators and the founders who supported this work. And okay, so thank you. Any questions?